What's up, friends? Welcome to SPDM TV. My name is Mike, part of the SPDM crew, and I watch a lot of TV. We talk about various TV topics, reviews, and general appreciation of TV past and new. You can follow me on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Serialized at MLHilty2452 to see what all I'm watching. This week, we're going to be talking about The Boys a little bit, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about Gen V, which just wrapped up season 2. And no better person that I would want to talk about with this than good friend, fellow SiftPop writer. Is this now where I mentioned that I beat you this week in fantasy football? Top
Yeah,
dog in our
but we
fantasy
got the Monday
football.
night game to come, haven't we? I don't even know who that is.
There is the Monday night game. Our just a resident TV friend that I love to talk with about all things television, John Tillyard. John, how's it going?
It's going good. Bucks won this week at least, so that's me satisfied. I'm not so bothered about the fantasy.
They gonna hang on in the NFC South? Because Carolina Panthers are coming up right behind.
How do you beat the Rams after they freaking slaughtered us? It's so
I
annoying.
that is a great question. I
Uh,
don't know what's going on with the Panthers right now, but it's very interesting. I anticipate that the Bucks are going to hang on to win
yeah,
the NFC South. That shouldn't be an issue, but we'll see, right?
yeah. I think if we can win one of the games against the Panthers, and we got Bucky Irvin back now, so I think we're going to do it.
That's going to be very helpful for me because Bucky Irving is on my fantasy football team. So hopefully he will continue to pay dividends. This is the only way that I could talk trash because you beat me last time so badly, and then also you're still the top person in our fantasy football league. So
I am, yes.
I gotta get my shots in somehow because
Yep.
yeah. So we just wrapped up Gen V season 2, which we'll get to our thoughts on that shortly. But John suggested that let's kind of take a temperature check and kind of get a lay of the land of how we're feeling about how we've been feeling about the boys and how we've been feeling about Gen V, or how did you feel about Gen V season 1? So John, I will cede the floor to you about anything that you're thinking about with the boys, the whole season as a whole, because it's wrapping up next year, and season 1 of Gen V. So why don't we go ahead and start with the boys? Any previous history with the comics or anything that you kind of want to talk about when it comes to the boys as a series?
So I don't know if you remember Heroes from about 20 years ago or so, but I do remember distinctly thinking to myself that that could have been a much better series if they took more of like a superhero approach to things. Like it was basically like a more sort of like realistic version of X-Men. And
Mhm.
I thought that could have worked a lot better if they weren't just like first discovering they had powers or something. It had been something that had been going on for a while. So
I
The Boys was
agree.
exactly the sort of series that I was thinking about. No familiarity with the comics, didn't know what that was. Maybe the comics came before Heroes. I don't know, but it was definitely the kind of thing I had in mind when I saw Heroes. What could have made a better version of that? So yeah, absolutely love the idea. It's just like more adult version of X-Men
Mhm.
and a more sort of maybe kind of more realistic approach to what would really happen if people in the world had superpowers. It would be kind of a controversial thing. There would be definitely political figures, I think,
Yes.
and
Uh,
they would be viewed kind of as very sort of privileged, I think, in a lot of cases, as to like how do you use your powers, how do you abuse them, and you've got to be the very first thing you see in the series is how it can actually be a bad thing with
mhm.
its if you misuse them. So yeah, absolutely love the idea of the boys. Loved, I would say, probably the first 2 seasons, and then I started to enjoy it like slightly less. I think it got a bit like samey. They were hitting a lot of the similar kind of beats, and I also am starting to dislike Huey a little bit. I think he's getting a bit whiny a
Well,
little bit.
but part of the problem also with Huey is that what can you do with Huey as a character
It's a difficult character, yeah.
like, just, I hate to admit it, just like most of the human characters, what are you gonna do with most of them? Are you gonna pump them up with Gen V, or are you going to, I don't know. Like, Huey as a character was always a lot of fun until he started getting his hands a little bit more dirty. And also, I hate to admit it, like when him and I love the moments between him and Butcher, but we get less and less of that because their paths are just going on wildly divergent paths or directions right now.
It's a tricky one, yeah. But
Mhm.
Butcher isn't bothering me quite so much. I quite like what they're doing with him, but yeah. I do feel like they're starting to run out of ideas for it, so I'm glad it's ending next year. Really,
Mhm.
it's starting to lose a bit of momentum. Gen V, I thought was another really good idea. It's actually an idea that they did have in Heroes of like, you could just inject someone with something and they just have a superpower, depending on like their DNA or something. So I thought that was a really neat idea, and also like a kind of like superpower college again. It's very like X-Men, I suppose. That
Well,
idea of like,
but to your point as well is that let's not talk about the utopia that is Xavier's school for gifted youngsters. And, like they're just it's a self-contained world where like all these kids behave themselves and with minus the exception of like a handful of times that like the kids sneaked out to the mall or the
yeah,
kids snuck onto the Blackbird for a mission. Nope. Like I love what this is doing and kind of taking particularly like the US college experience as well, taking it a little bit to task when it comes to things like Greek life, when it comes to talking about things like just academics and such. So I don't know. I thought Gen V had a lot to say about the college experience and what it's turned into versus what it's supposed to be. And then you're talking about with a lot of these kids where going to college is a privilege. And you mentioned privilege before about all these superheroes who what are they going to do? Are they going to like take the route of like wanting to do the right thing all the time, or
no,
are they going to be hired guns for a corporation? I don't know. Like, so I really enjoyed Gen V a lot. I thought that was a nice change of pace.
yeah.
And I largely agree with everything that you said about the boys. Like to me, also, the big problem that I had with the boys is how much more sadistic can Homelander get before it's like, oh, I don't know what we're gonna do to fix this or how we're going to stop Homelander at this point.
They definitely like showed their full hand with Homelander's character with that plane crash scene. I think that was just like just giving you like the most slimy, like deceptive sort of thing of like, oh yeah, we tried to save them, but oh, we just didn't get there in time. It's like
Mhm. Yeah.
you just can't take his character any further than that after you've done that. I don't think.
No. Well, but the way that they've done it is that they've made the show and they've made him increasingly more and more political. And look, it's no secret that Homelander is looking more and more like Donald Trump every season,
I mean, he
right?
literally has a sign that says "Let's make America super again." They're
Yeah,
not. They're not even trying to hide it now.
we're not trying to hide it, and that's even leaked into Gen V a little bit as well,
Yeah, yeah. It's in Gen V.
injecting a lot of the politics and injecting a lot of uh, conservative versus liberal, which I don't know. I feel like a superhero show is a very interesting way to have this conversation. I'm just not sure the boys
Oh,
stick. I'm not sure the boys sticks the landing each time that they try to have this conversation, but that's okay because they're at least trying different things and they're trying to have at least a conversation about it, which I can appreciate that, right?
yeah, yeah.
So, what was your anticipation level for season two? Because Gen V, I think first season came out in either 2023 or did it come out last year?
No, I think it was 23.
Yeah. So, what was your anticipation level for Gen V season two? Were you excited about it, or were you kind of like, oh yeah, I completely forgot that this was a thing?
Well, the interesting thing was, as I was watching season one, I actually thought this was just going to be a one-off, like single season spin-off thing.
I thought that
And
too.
obviously, the way that season one ends, I realized that they could not do that. You can't end the season like that. You can't
Mhm.
end the series like that. You're going to have to do another season. So I actually wasn't sure what to think. It's a bit of a downer ending to season one. I wasn't really sure where they could go with it from there, but I was kind of excited to see more of it at least.
I would say I was excited as well, but it had been like not like a really long time, but like the gap was long enough to where I was like,
Oh, you've you've
I'm
gone. You're back.
the gap in between season one and season two was long enough to where I kind of forgot some of the stuff that happened in Gen V season one, and I did have to go back and rewatch some stuff and or at minimum watch like a YouTube recap video for season one. And then not only that, we got another season of The Boys in between that as well. That changes everything.
Yeah.
Changes everything that happens in this universe too. So let's get into Gen V season two. And we'll start with our trusty SiftPop scale. Did you like it, love it, hate it, dislike it, or did you think it was just okay?
I'm going to go liked it.
I am right smack in the middle of liked it. I think that some of the things that they were trying to do with Gen V season two was something that I really enjoyed until the final episode. And there's a couple
Completely
things
agree.
there's
Yep.
a couple things that happened in the final episode that I'm like, well, shit. Okay. Like I think that could have been a really interesting thing, but then they pivoted and they made some choices. So, okay, let's go ahead and rip the band-aid off. Let's talk full spoilers on all things Gen V season two. John, I'll let you start. What is something that you want to talk about when it comes to Gen V season two?
So I'm drawing a blank on the name of the villain.
Which
God, I
one?
should
Because
have.
there's
What the main guy?
the Godolkin guy or the lackey.
No, the tutor at the college. Cypher.
That's
Cypher.
right, Dean Cypher, played by Hamish Linklater. Which bravo casting on that.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Your opening thoughts on Dean Cypher.
Yeah, so incredible character, like you said, incredible performance. I just love how sort of I always kind of I'm unsure about these villains that seem kind of invincible, but with obviously with superpowers is a bit easier to buy. But he's kind of invincible in the way that he's just sort of smart at the same time as the way he uses his powers. You know, he's just everything that they try to do to defeat him. He's just thought of it. He just knows what to do. The only thing I didn't like what they did with him was in the final episode. You know, we get the
Mm,
real Cypher in the final episode. I thought, oh, well, this is going to be interesting, and then he's gone
yep.
like that. He's in one episode basically.
Yeah, I've got a lot of thoughts on that, but
Yeah,
I thought that Dean Cypher was a very interesting character. Feels like he was playing chess when everyone else was playing checkers, always one step ahead
yeah, he
of
knew everything. Though.
of everybody. I also liked how, to some extent or another, he was also kind of talking about how I can help some of these kids unlock their true potential and their true power as well. Say what you will about the relationship between Cypher and Marie, but he kind of taught some things to her that kind of helped harness her powers a little bit until you realize what's actually going on. And then it's like, well, okay, this changes things quite a bit until it doesn't. But
Yeah,
I really liked his character. Is it a bit on the nose that, the dean of a school like this is like kind of like a pseudo bad guy? Yeah, sure. Because you look at something like Wednesday, for example, it's like, oh, so all of these deans or headmasters, they've all got something to hide. Cool. Great. All right, fine. But then, okay, we need to talk about. Let's just rip the band-aid off and let's just talk about what happened, because we do find out later in the season that it's not Cypher who is actually the Cypher that we know. He's being controlled by none other than Thomas Godolkin himself, back from the dead, I would
I
say.
guess so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess he's back.
And played to perfection by Ethan Slater of Wicked fame, which we talked about beforehand. Boy, I think they made a giant mistake by just introducing him as a character and then just and he's gone.
Yeah,
Yes,
why would you bring him in for one episode and then just kill him?
yeah.
I don't get
Uh,
it.
unless he's somehow still hanging out there. Maybe he's got a like the boys version of a Horcrux kind of hanging out there right now, or maybe his body is still, I don't know. But I thought if that there was a way to incorporate these two universes and to have somebody that could formidably bring down Homelander maybe a little bit. I think this could have been a way to do it, but they decided not to do that. And I'm wondering why, because I think what Thomas Goodall kind of brought to the table with his one episode that he's actually in and he's doing stuff. They used Marie to channel her powers so that she could like heal him, which I'm not sure if that's how her powers actually work, but cool.
That,
That's fun.
that is some phenomenal healing.
Yeah,
I've got to
that
say, I don't really know what she's supposed to be doing there.
I'm not sure either, but I thought that that was a cool way to expand her powers a little bit. But then also, I feel like his whole thing where it's like, these are the superheroes that we have in today. I think that could have been a really interesting dynamic there. But for them to introduce Thomas Godolkin as a character, show off his powers, and then that's it, I think was a tremendous waste. And kind of like just a TV trope in a way. It's like, let's introduce this thing that it's gonna be big, and then he shows up and then he's gone. It's like, I don't know what they were thinking. Why would you do this? Like, John, help me make it make sense to me.
The only thing I'm thinking is just so that they could have the twist of like it was him the whole time, sort of thing. And then they were like, well, we're gonna have to bring in another actor, and maybe pay him for one episode,
I,
just so that he can agree to come in and play him.
I guess, but
Yeah, I don't get it. Why you would just do that for one episode? It's very strange to me. I
it's
don't know if I've ever seen that before. Just bring in a new villain for one episode is so strange.
you see that in movies from time to time where they bring in a villain and you think it's going to be a big thing and then they're defeated. That's pretty common with superhero movies, but not a TV show and not someone. The fucking college is named after him. Like
Yeah.
the college is named after him. He's a big deal. So I think I don't. Okay, ultimately, I land on Thomas Godolkin's inclusion in this is ultimately just a way for us to show that Marie is clamoring for any reason to be quote unquote special. And but that's not enough of a reason because I think that they could have done a lot more, especially with this next season of The Boys being it. So I think that they could have done a lot there because this season also had a lot of crossover between The Boys
Yeah.
and the Gen V verse. So
Yeah, a lot of that final episode is just setting up for the last season of The Boys.
yeah, so
Definitely.
I think that I think they made a tremendous mistake by getting rid of Thomas Godolkin so quickly, unless this is just a red herring and he's still hanging out there, which I don't understand how that would be remotely possible.
I don't know how you do that, even with superpowers.
Yeah,
Yeah, the healing scene did bug me a little bit because what I like what they do in Stranger Things when Eleven is using her powers and you can tell it's like at her limit. They've got the little visual of the blood coming out of her nose. So if they'd had something like that when she's healing him, I think I could have bought what that this was like the limit of her powers and extent. But she doesn't even really seem to be struggling with whatever it is that she's doing, and that's such a phenomenal use of power that she's going to. So that really bugged me actually how she was able to do that.
I mean, isn't that kind of a problem with most people's powers in the boys universe, right? Because like everyone just seems like they have unlimited power. And I really like how this season they talked a little bit about look, some people have got shitty powers. They really do. But some people have, a cool power that they can use for a short amount of time, but for a very specific purpose. But I don't know. Overall, I just think that it was a huge disservice to the story to build up this whole thing where it's like, oh, Thomas Godolkin is now back, and then to snatch the rug from under us just to get us to the boys, and we've now got an underground resistance of some former members of VOT and people who now part did is that what he called it? Welcome to the resistance at
I
the
think he
end.
said that. Yeah, basically.
Maybe this is me being cynical, but I hated that he said that. It seems so on the nose and very, very Avengers-y when Jeremy Renner in Age of Ultron was talking to Scarlet Witch and was like, "Hey, as soon as you get out there, you are an Avenger." It's like, yeah, no shit. Like we get that, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too cynical about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting like commentary with the resistance. That's another thing that bugs me actually. The Starlighters, the fact that they call themselves that when she doesn't want to be called Starlight herself anymore. I don't get that. I mean, maybe
Uh,
that's the idea that they're going about it the wrong way. Maybe they want to fight for what she believes in, but they're not. They don't really understand how to do it. Maybe that's the idea behind that name.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of how the conversation that Frank Castle has with those people at the end of Daredevil, those cops who are like, we're doing things the way that you do them. It's like, no, you don't get it, do you?
Yeah.
Like, you don't get it at all. But yeah,
Or
that bothered me a little bit too.
the people dressed as Batman at the start of the Dark Knight.
Yeah,
Batman's like, "What are you doing?"
it's like you're trying you're ill-equipped to do this and you're not doing it for the right reasons as well. So there's a lot more crossover with the boys universe this in this season than there was in the first season. You had a bunch of people who made cameos in this, starting with Starlight herself, which what what happened to the actress? Like it looked like she doesn't look okay. Like she looks a little ill. Like did you get that vibe at all that she
I
looks
don't think I
different?
picked up on that.
Okay.
I don't know.
So,
I'll have to go back and watch that.
okay. Well, so she was, we get that interaction between her and Marie, which I thought that was a good way to bring these two together. Too bad it didn't mean shit at the end of the day. The
Nope.
character, trying to remember her name. What was her name again? Sister Sage. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, her inclusion at the end where she's like, this wasn't part of the plan and such. That's where I was so interested because she hitched her
Oh,
wagon to Homelander last season, and then all of a sudden she's like, this is part of her plan with Thomas Godolkin, and I thought that could have been a really interesting dynamic, but then it wasn't. And
and
then
there's no Godolkin.
yeah, and then you have A Train coming at the end, who's the one that says,
Yeah, that was random.
that was very random, but it's also comforting to know that he is part of the resistance as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
which
So he's not been on their side for most of it, has he?
and then we also get a cameo, a bunch of some smaller moments from the Deep, which that's kind of been one of my big issues with the boys over the last couple of seasons. It's getting like very excessive with the violence and it's getting very excessive with the sex. Look, that stuff doesn't bother me at the end of the day. It's no big deal, but it's also I feel like when the boys does it, they're just trying to one up the last season, like with how bad they could make it in terms of either the violence or like anything sexual. But like this season, there's traveling via someone's butt. There's the violence is just very, very over the top. And I didn't feel like I felt like it was more functional in those first couple seasons, and just now it's just because they can do it because
Yeah.
Amazon is just giving them full clearance to do it. Am I a bit of a prude for saying that, or
I always kind of thought like the idea with the boys and I guess Gen V as well was like let's do X-Men but R-rated. Let's do
Mhm.
everything you can't do in X-Men, basically. There was a spin-off series of Doctor Who called Torchwood that had that approach to it. Let's do every Doctor Who story that we can't actually do in Doctor Who because it's too R-rated. It's
Oh.
like it deals with like sex and a lot of violence and everything. So I think that's always been like the idea with these series. It's always going to be like the more R-rated superhero stuff. Like and R-rated superpowers like Marie's is very sort of clear superpower
Mhm.
because it involves blood the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. So of like the main characters that we see, like the college age characters, or even just like any character in season two, was there anyone that kind of like stood out to you as like, okay, I really like what they were doing with this particular character?
Well, Kate obviously had the big change in character, the big arc this season with sort of like basically from the start trying to get on their side, basically Marie and Emma's side, and Marie just not really trusting her, which I thought was very good. It was very sort of realistic in the way that that was handled.
Mhm.
I don't really understand how she survives that hole in the head
Nope.
because Marie's not able to heal her. Apparently, she just goes to hospital and she's okay, except her powers don't quite work properly. Now, I don't really understand how that happens.
I don't get that either, but yeah, that that was definitely a thing. Yeah, very. I also thought that Maddie Phillips, who's the person that plays Kate, I thought she did a really good job of kind
Yeah,
of showcasing some of like a little bit of regret for some of the things that she did in season one, but also kind of showing us like, hey, I didn't really have a choice in the matter.
yeah.
It's I gotta survive, or because like she's not the strongest person. She doesn't really know how to fight too much. Her superpower is just persuasion. That's her big
Yeah. And
superpower.
that is actually the kind of power where normally they would have to be the villain. Because
Mhm.
like if you have the hero just have mind control, well then you can just tell whoever's causing trouble, like don't cause trouble.
Right.
Basically, yes, it just solves everything. So I'm interested to see what they do with her in the boys if she plays like a big role. If they have any kind of explanation for why she just can't just go in and tell Homelander, hey, don't be evil or
Oh,
something.
that would be that
Could
would
be
be
interesting
an
if they try and do that.
it would be interesting, but also can't you just see a situation where it's like, oh, that power doesn't work on me? It's like, of
Yeah.
course. Of
Well,
course.
of course, her powers don't work for most of this season properly, which it is the one effect from the hole in the back of the head, I guess, is like
Well,
the way they explain that, I suppose.
but I kind of think that that was kind of like an interesting dynamic that I'm not exactly sure what to make of that moving forward. Is like, does that only happen to like Gen V users, or does
Oh
that
yeah,
can that happen to like any superhero where their powers just kind of go on the fritz a little bit? Like, and that's different from like a weakness per se. Like,
yeah.
can an injury potentially cause somebody to, kind of be out of commission? Like, for example, A Train, if his legs are broken, like, can he just walk on his hands and just call it a day? No, that would be ridiculous. He's got to recover. But with like Marie, if she doesn't have blood handy or like a knife to be able to like make herself bleed to be able to, use her powers, what is she gonna do? Like until you realize halfway through the season, it's like, oh, I can control the blood that is in people's bodies, and I could use it for healing, or I could use it for more violence. Like I can make hearts stop and
Yeah,
blood
so
boil and
presum
so.
presumably she can control blood without even removing it from the body,
Now,
if that is the case. There's a thing in Avatar: The Last Airbender, actually blood bending, which you never actually see any of the blood, but basically it means you can just control people. You can, just move them about like the Imperious Curse in Harry Potter, basically. So it's possible she might be doing that in the boys when we see her, like just controls people's movements. It could be
right.
interesting to see.
I'm curious, what are your thoughts on what's going on with Sam right now? So the after like him and Kate were the people who kind of were the ones that didn't get captured after the incident at Gaju in season one. Sam, he's kind of losing his grip on reality a little bit, and he's seeing things through puppets and such. Like, what are your thoughts about what's going on with Sam? And do you think that he can be a
Oh,
character that can
you've gone.
actually?
Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Do you think Sam can actually be a character that actually matters? I guess, with him kind of being so far off his rocker right now.
I don't really see him playing any kind of role now. I think he's completely gone at this
Mhm.
point. I think Kate's basically moved across to their side because she knows that he's just lost it at this point.
Was it like that one episode where he goes to see his parents? Like, did you get anything out of that, or did that kind of help piece some things together, or did that kind of just feel like a bottle episode and just kind of call it a day?
I thought that was just like a bit of wrapping up, to be honest. Like just like let's close out this character by just having a bit of more focus on him give him some background.
One character that I'd like to talk about, even though he's actually not in the season, is Andre.
Yep,
And
real shame.
it's a shame because Chance Perdomo, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, passed away after Gen V season one, tragic accident, and his presence is felt throughout the course of this whole season.
I really
Um,
like the way they handled it, actually.
I agree. I really like the way that they handled it. I feel like they did his character's death justice because it keeps coming up as well. It's not like it's a one and done thing and then that's it. And subsequently, this is where I really liked Polarity this season as well. Sean Patrick Thomas, who is Andre's father, who is just riddled with guilt for everything that kind of went down with Andre. There was something about having his presence there and just him feeling so distraught and upset about everything that happened. I really like you said, I like the way that they handled it and that this was something that recurred throughout the whole season. It's not like this just happened in season one, for chance and then like at the end and then that was it. Like, nope, this is something that hung over everybody the entire season.
Yeah. They obviously had quite a lot planned with Andre in the second season. I assume some of that was transferred to his dad because he does actually kind of play a role in helping them out
Mhm.
towards the end. But yeah, they don't try and like pretend that he's just like not there now. His death actually plays a prominent role in the story going forward. A lot of people with like guilt for what happened. I did not realize when I started watching that that actor had passed away. And I do remember being a bit confused. Wait, you're not even going to show his death? You're not even going to show
Mm.
how he died? That's weird. Oh, the actor had already died before they started filming. Okay, fair enough then.
Because for a lot of other shows, that type of thing kind of maybe typically happens. It's like, oh, died off screen. That's like, okay, this person had a contract dispute, didn't want to come back for season two, and then that was it. But since since the guy who played Andre died in real life, the way that his death affects each person differently as well. Like with Marie, it's like I could have helped him. It's like, well, you weren't around to help him because your way of doing things is just to go about doing
Oh, he's
things
gone again.
just
Oh,
can you hear me okay?
yep, you're okay.
Marie, who goes about everything very lone wolf style, whereas Emma and Jordan, who kind of are hanging in the back when we're kind of there when Andre dies, and then Kate and Sam, who feel guilty for their role in putting them in that position in order for Andre to die heroically as well.
Yes,
I thought
yeah,
that was a good way to do that.
yes. The way that they explain that he dies is went out like giving it everything. Or basically gave his life to help them escape or try and help them escape. I really like the way they did that, and they did it without needing to like recast the character at all. Not didn't even need to like have a flashback scene. You could like just have them describe it, and you could understand exactly what had happened. So I really like that, and I love the way they bring his dad in and have him like play the significant role of like Andre. It is a real shame because Andre was a great character. I'm sure they would have had a lot of interesting stuff planned for him this season, but obviously, no fault of theirs.
No
Sadly
fault of
not.
theirs. That's very true. Here's a question
And
for
obviously, it's
you.
a shame that he passed away as well. I should say, it's a
Yeah,
real person that's passed away as well.
no, I got what you're saying. You're all good.
Yeah.
Here's a question I have for you. A big story for Marie is her trying to find her sister. And this comes to a head this season. What are your thoughts on Annabeth, which is Marie's sister's name, Annabeth's inclusion in the story as a whole?
Wasn't quite sure what the point was because she doesn't have powers. I don't think, or does she? I'm trying to remember now.
She's kind of a precog, but
Yeah.
that's about it.
So in that sense, I wasn't quite sure of the point, other than it was Marie's sister, and perhaps she feels estranged from her, so it's like a new connection for her to bring a bit more maybe like humanized character
Mhm.
to Marie and sort of understand her background a little bit. I don't find her character particularly interesting though.
No.
I just don't know. She just irritated me.
She's part of the group now
Yeah.
because Marie's not gonna. gonna let her go, but I largely agree with you. I think if anything, having her like I am kind of glad that the boys didn't just use her as a prop to get Marie
You
to
that?
do. I'm just glad that Annabeth wasn't used as a prop to just uh get the powers that be to have Marie do what they want. But that's kind of what they did, and she's not bringing a whole lot to the table now. But maybe in the future she'll have more to do, and by the future I mean the last season of The Boys,
This one season of The Boys that they now have.
because this is where again, why do you need another character being introduced here if they're not going to do anything with it? Which I think that's kind of a big criticism of this most recent season of Gen V. Is like you're introducing a handful of new characters that I'm not sure they're going to amount to much of anything
Yeah.
moving forward.
There's way too many to introduce now in The Boys. Because not everyone who watches The Boys will have seen Gen V. You're going to need to reintroduce all these characters.
That's That's true. And not only do you have to introduce them, you got to give them, you're either going to give them something to do or they're just cannon fodder and they're just going to die pretty quick. So, like, let me kick it back to you. What's a character or a plot point that you wanted to talk about and just kind of get some of your thoughts on?
I thought Emma was a bit underused this season. I've kind of suspect that maybe the effects on her power cost a bit too much to do because we
Probably.
didn't see it. Sorry, say again.
No, I can see that being
Yeah,
an issue.
yeah. So because I noticed we didn't see very much of her power this season. There were actually, I think, a couple of moments where they said to her, "Oh, get big or get small or something," and she was like, "Oh, I can't. I haven't got enough energy or something like that." I was like,
Oh, you're pulling a Bruce Banner in
yeah,
Infinity War because we're
yeah.
way over budget on our VFX, so we can't have any more Hulk scenes. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, I do think those effects are probably quite expensive to do. But yeah, her character in general just seemed to like take a sort of backseat for a large part. Like even the prison break, she was like very much against it, and then she just it's like when they got captured, she was like, "Told you." It's like that was like her main contribution, I thought, to this season.
I really think that it could have been an interesting storyline though if they could have explored a little bit about okay, you don't have to you don't have to make yourself throw up or you don't have to do anything like that in order for you to use your power, which I think that could have been a really fascinating way to address how like trauma can give people, trauma induced power in this case could be something as a way to like overcome that. But I don't feel like they did enough with that because they just have so much going on and there's so many characters that it's hard to give everyone a little bit of the spotlight. Even to kind of like piggyback off of that, I think I think Jordan didn't have a whole lot of favors either.
Yeah, yeah, Jordan as
Um,
well.
Kind of just thrown off to the side as somebody who's helping with the overall mission, but and as part of the group, but isn't really doing a whole lot of anything. Granted, there's two things that happen with Jordan that kind of pushes their character forward a little bit. One, Jordan and Marie. Okay, cool. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
But then there's the moment where Jordan has to get up in front of everybody and kind of talk about what it means to be like the new number one at God U, and then also being somebody who doesn't want to be like the way that Jordan is treated because he could switch from being male to female, which is an obvious commentary about transgender or anybody that is, intersexed, which I feel like it's very important for them to address that because in college, that's something that gets addressed a lot with college, especially here in the US, where transgender individuals are just under constant attack, and it's just very sad. But the I think the moment where Jordan is talking in front of everybody and is talking about like, hey, this is who I am. I'm both male and female. Get over it. I thought that part was really good, but then not a whole lot else happens with Jordan
yeah.
the rest of the season.
Jordan is just the trans character at this point. There isn't a lot more else to them. I am kind of fascinated by that character because I think that's a really good idea to have like in a superhero show. I have no idea how that character's been received by the trans community, if that's like an accurate portrayal of trans feelings. I don't know any trans people in real life, and I've not come across any like commentary from trans people on the internet about it, like whether or not they think that's a good portrayal of them or not.
I'd be very curious to hear about that as well.
But yeah, that the idea for that character does absolutely fascinate me. I also think it's quite good casting that they cast a boy and a girl that actually do look quite similar to one another. You can tell that's supposed to be the same person, even though it's clearly a boy and a girl.
Yeah, I think I really like what I think her name is London Thor, or at least I'm hoping I'm pronouncing last name correctly. But I really, I really like the dynamic that she brings to the female version of Jordan. But then Derek Liu is also doing some amazing stuff too. Like I think both performances are really solid, and I agree with you that both of the performers, they both look alike enough to where it's like, okay, it's not that much of a stretch that they could be the same person. So, but like with Emma and with Jordan as well, like, and like you can even throw Kate into this as well. Like, how do we expect any of these people to like, what meaningful contribution could you bring to the resistance at this point? Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm struggling a little bit with this as well, is that what's next? But I'll get to that point in a minute, because one thing that I want to ask you about, more crossover from the boys, and we get a very brief Stan Edgar cameo and then a Zoe Newman cameo as well. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, honestly, a lot of that last episode I just toned out. It's a trailer for the boys now. That's what
Yep.
it is.
Yep.
I honestly did not care.
Yep. That
Yeah.
I feel like that is just this show flexing that it is in the boys universe, and it's like, oh, we can do this, and it's like, oh, it's Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the TV in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So anything else about Gen V season 2 before we kind of talk about where do we go from here with the boys?
I did have one kind of random thought, which is there's one particular scene that's trying to show that Kate's powers are not working properly, where she tries to mind control this guard, and rather than him just going off, he starts fucking a garden gnome. And I just had an amusing thought of like what the writing process for that scene was. It's like that were the guys like saying, okay, so we need to have a scene here to show that Kate's powers aren't working properly. She gets the guard to just walk off, and he doesn't do that. He does something different. What could we have him do?
Yeah.
Like, well, what's the most random thing, most out of the way random, what the fuck kind of thing that you could have him do? What, fucking a garden gnome? Okay, let's go with that.
I wonder.
just sort of amusing to think like what other things could they have come up with?
Can't you just see a whole like whiteboard of all kinds of different ideas? And can't you just see someone connect? It's like, let's have this person break garden gnomes. Nope, let's have this person, have sex with random people. What if you combine these two ideas? Because we like both of these ideas. What if we combine them? And the writers were like, perfect. We got it. We did it, guys. We did it.
I do think that's a good thing, because it's like it's random enough that you know that something's gone wrong, but it's not like so completely what the fuck. It's sort of connected to something that you could see or somebody might do, sort of similar. But it's like you said, like a combination of two things that somebody might do. But yeah, it's just amused me to think of like how long the writing process for that scene might have been. It makes me laugh.
Some other things to kind of wrap up. Do we care that there's a love triangle between Emma?
Hello?
Any thoughts on Emma, Sam, and the other guy, the love triangle prospectively there? Do we care?
I'm not sure at the moment. I mean, I care about all these characters. I don't really feel like there's like much of a connection between them. But that's the only thing I'm struggling with at the moment. I just wanted more Emma, to be honest. I thought she was a great character in the first season, and there just wasn't a lot of the season for me to like get my teeth into and like really get behind her. Obviously now she'll be in the boys, but like as you said, there's going to be a load of new characters in the boys, so I'm not sure we're going to see much of her in that. So
Yeah.
it's disappointing.
Yep. I agree. Any other any other characters or any other plot points that you wanted to talk about before we get to the future, which is one more season of The Boys, and then that's it before there's inevitably more spinoffs because it's Amazon and it's the most popular show.
No, I think I've said everything I want to say.
So then let's talk about what this means for the final season of The Boys. Like, does this make you more excited for the final season of The Boys, or does this kind of just bring up more questions and kind of make you scratch your head a little bit, or somewhere in the middle?
I think I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm excited about the fact that we're going to see Marie and Kate and Emma and the others in The Boys. I'd like to see them interact with Huey and Annie and Butcher. I'm excited to see what that's going to be like, the dynamic of like the larger resistance and what we're going to see with that. Possibly they'll fight Homelander at some point. So seeing those powers against Homelander, that could be kind of interesting, like Giant Emma versus
Mhm.
Homelander. I'd be interested to see what kind of matchup that, like we talked about earlier, Kate trying to mind control him. That's something they could do as well. So yeah, just seeing those characters in The Boys, that excites me, but I think it is going to be a little bit overcrowded now. It's the only thing that worries me is there's going to be a lot of different storylines, I think.
That's my big concern with this as well, which is why I'm in the middle, but maybe I'm in like the lower end of the middle because you already have a fair amount of people in The Boys that are not getting their just due because there's just a lot of people here. Because if you think about it, with just The Boys in general, you've got The Boys, so you've got Mother's Milk, you've
Oh,
got, can you,
hello.
hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear
Hello?
you.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. Because in with The Boys, you've got Mother's Milk, you've got Frenchie, you've got Kamiko, you've got Huey, and you've got Butcher. So you have those five. That's not even counting Annie, who is just kind of hanging out there, and A Train, and then you've got all the collection of people from Vought that you've gathered up, and then all of the family members of some of these characters as well, right? So you introduce then all of the characters from Gen V as well. And I feel like this has the potential to be just way too, like you said, way too overstuffed. There's too many characters. And Marvel had this similar problem as well. And like DC even had this problem with Justice League. It's like you're introducing a lot of characters and somebody's got to get the short end of the stick. And I'm worried that the Gen V team is going to get the short end of the stick because they're the ones that are coming in late. They're the kids. They don't know their powers yet, or they're young, so they don't have a good grasp on things. And then you've also got a lot to explore with, Butcher's son and what are we going to do with all the other members of Vought and what are we going to do with like all the politics and such. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to pull this off. So we'll see. Because I don't know. I'm a little concerned, and I think I'm a little bit more concerned than you are right now.
Yeah, possibly they're just going to have more episodes or longer episodes like they're doing with Stranger Things. So just like that's the thing you can do with a streaming show, I suppose. You can just make the episodes as long as you want. But yeah, there's probably going to be a lot in this final season just going on all over the place.
Final question I have for you before I get you out of here. John, with The Boys wrapping up, how many parts do you think Amazon is going to do before they finally call this a day? Are they going to do season 5, parts 1 and 2? Are they going to, go the Cobra Kai and the Stranger Things route with 3? Or are they just going to say fuck it and go 4 or 5 parts with it?
I think the boys and Gen V have also been weekly shows on Amazon for a few years, but it could be in parts as well.
Mhm.
And thought of that. But yeah, I think 3 parts probably at least.
Yeah, because I think the only show that Amazon has done that with, where they've split a season into, they do it week to week, but they split it between a couple parts, is Invincible. That's the only show that I think that they did that with. They don't even do that with Rings of Power. So I don't know. We'll see because after this, I'm not sure what else Amazon is going to do with this property because this is easily, like, in my opinion, this is easily their most popular and most accessible show. So, what is Amazon going to do? Are we going to go back and are we going to do a Soldier Boy? That's the rapper, Soldier Boy episode or a centric show, are we gonna do more spin-offs? Like, I don't know how they're planning on wrapping this up, and I don't know. I don't think that we're going to be done with the boys universe. I think the show proper is just going to be done, but I don't know how you come back from that.
Yeah, I mean, presumably the seven is going to like dissolve at the end of the boys. So yeah, I don't know where you would go with that unless they decided to go backwards, like the
Well,
formation of the seven. The very first seven or something like that.
the rise of Vought, because you can't call. I'm trying to think. Like, is the could you make the prequel series just be called like the kids and then go from boys to I don't know, but this is the stupid shit that my brain thinks of.
I don't
But
know.
the I look at what The Walking Dead is doing for this, for example. The Walking Dead has all of these various spin-offs for characters that we saw in the original series, and The Walking Dead is trying to survive even though the show proper is done and they have all these spin-offs. I'm not sure if it's necessarily working, but AMC is just trying to continually keep The Walking Dead alive when in reality, how emblematic that the show just needs to be put down, and it needs to be put down for good.
Yeah,
But
very appropriate that the zombie franchise just doesn't die.
yeah, it's very, very appropriate here. But I mean, honest, are you at least like, do you have any like last thing that we'll say, like, do you have any predictions or anything that you're really looking forward to other than like more screen time for Emma for the final season of The Boys? Not asking for like predictions, just like anything that you just are hoping to see.
Yeah, like I said, I want to see Giant Emma in the
Mm.
boys. See, yeah, in terms of like story related predictions, I'm not sure. Probably there's going to be like some kind of showdown between Annie and Homelander at the very end. I think is probably going to be the climax.
Mhm.
That would be my only prediction. I think.
The only other things that I'll add there is that I want a moment between Butcher and Huey. I don't know. I've always really liked their dynamic together. And I want a brutal death for the Deep. I hate the
Yes,
Deep so much as a
yes, he's so
character.
annoying. Yeah,
He's annoying. He was annoying in Gen V as like the frat boy who does not know when to give up, his time in college. I'm just done with the Deep, but whatever. It is what it is. But all of this to say, I think we're still very much looking forward to this final season of The Boys, and we'll see what happens. I'm sure you and I will talk about it once it's done, after we've collected our thoughts, and we go from there. But John, thanks a lot also for sticking with this. We've tried to talk about this for quite a while, and 9 times out of 10, it's me having something come up or not getting the time straight. So thanks so much for sticking with this. John, do you have anything that you want to plug, and where can the people find you
hello.
if they want to continue to talk?
Yeah, I am on Instagram, John Tillyard 86. That's the numbers 86. I also do reviews on SiftPop. My most recent review is In Your Dreams, which is a Netflix series, and then before that, it was The Woman in Cabin 10,
Hmm.
which is not very good, but I did do a review of it anyway.
From time to time, we all have a couple of things that we're like, I'm hopeful for this, and then it just turns out to be a bit of a stinker. So
Yeah.
so appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And looking forward to chatting with you more coming up very soon, because I'm sure there's plenty of other things that we could talk about coming up soon.